live episode of Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, SCS Nation, and welcome to Surviving the Survivor. It is a show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime on trending criminal cases, and this is one that goes back too many years, but we are still following the Lori Vallow Daybell Trial Part 2. This is Part 2. She is the so-called Doomsday Mom. She's been back in court recently as she is ready to represent herself in the murder trial of her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, in Phoenix. And tonight, you guys are in for a special treat because we have an unbelievable panel for you. Jury has been seated in the case. Opening statements are set for Monday, and probably much to Lori's jubilation, it is a male-dominated jury pool, I believe, with 13 men, I want to say, but we're going to confirm that with our best guests. First up, you've got Megan Connor, cousin of Lori Vallow, joining us, and the host of her own show. Is it tell me the name of the show.
The Midlife Revolution.
Midlife just had
yes.
a moment there. Midlife Revolution podcast. And then we've got Rex Connor, Lori Vallow's uncle, all in the family here. We're going to find out. And Rex, you're muted. We'll have you on mute in a moment. And last but certainly not least, Tom Evans, just a great guy who I had the pleasure of meeting at CrimeCon. And he is the author of Money, Power, and Sex, the Lori Vallow Daybell Trial. He was an alternate juror. He did not deliberate, but he was there for the entire case. And here we are once again. Megan, I have to start with you. I mean, what is it like? Very obvious first question, but what is it like for you now to be kind of deja vuing all over again in Phoenix, witnessing this again?
Well, this is a totally new experience for me. I was not at the trial in person, her first trial in person. And so I watched everything from the comfort of my own home. I had my dogs and my kids and everybody near me. So being here by myself and seeing Lori in the courtroom, it's a totally new experience for me. I was a little bit apprehensive, honestly, to see how she would react when she saw me. But, it's been really interesting being there with her in person and seeing her play lawyer. And I think what's surreal for me is to see this convicted murderer dressed up in lawyer clothes, pretending to be an attorney, just acting normal as if nothing ever happened.
That has got to be super bizarre. I mean, I've got to follow that up with, did you guys make eye contact? Does she know you're in there? And how does she know? How do you know if she does know that you're in there?
Well, the first day in the morning, we did make eye contact at one point, and there was no recognition on her face at all. So I don't think she recognized me at first or knew who I was. But then later in the afternoon, she made a point to look past me, to not look at me. It was kind of hard to avoid me because there aren't very many people there. But then on the second day when she came in, she did make eye contact with me, and it's very clear that she does recognize me. She does know that I'm there. And so, yeah, she knows I'm there.
When's the last time that you actually hung out with her, that you were with her in person before all this happened?
It's probably been at least 10 years since I've seen her, and maybe more than that. I'm struggling to remember. Maybe Grunkle Rex can remind me when the last family event was, because generally it's like, see you at the next wedding or funeral kind of thing. So it's been a while. It's been at least 10 years.
Yeah. And by the way, we are going to cover the trial starting with opening statements on Monday. It's a wacky schedule. I think court is Monday to Thursday, no court on Friday. And I was talking to Megan offline. I am planning to head to Park City, Utah to cover the Corey Richins case. They might overlap a tiny bit. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. on the fly, as we always do. Special thanks here to Vonda K, Dr. Vonda K to me for gifting 10 memberships, Cami Day gifting 5, and Vonda K saying, these are my people, meaning there you go, the Connors, I believe, not the Vallows, but the Connors. So Grunkle Rex, as he is known. But Uncle Rex, you're not in Phoenix. Tom and Megan are, and they're attending the trial. But you are, I believe, in Utah. And what is this experience like remotely for you? Once again, where the headlines, Lori was just on Dateline with Keith Morrison. It does not get any bigger than that. What is this like going into this once again?
Adam and I were both, Lori's brother and I were both surprised, and we've talked about this quite a few times. We're surprised because we thought we were doing so well emotionally, just personally, getting past it with the last one. We do a podcast from time to time. We can talk okay about it. Then as this got closer and it became real again and everything started getting dredged up, it was an emotion. It was shocking how we weren't as prepared as we thought emotionally. So it's going to be just, you don't know what's going to happen day to day. It's just going to be an emotional roller coaster once again. So not something you look forward to.
Yeah, I can't. I would not want to be, in your seat as much as I like you here. But I mean, when you're talking about the emotions, what specifically is kind of gnawing at you?
How selfish Lori is being. This is someone we've known and loved since the day she was born, but obviously things have changed in the last 6 years or more. But the fact that at this point she is so lost that she has to put people that she used to love, especially I'm thinking Colby and her mother, her sister, she's putting everyone through all this, apparently oblivious to the fact that it's a strain on anyone else in the world except her. That is just, it's a combination of disappointment and infuriation, if that's a word. It's just beyond the pale that someone would do this to other people.
I think if it's not a word, it's a word now. And Rex, the podcast that you and Adam do, is it still on regularly? Where do people find it?
It's on wherever you find your podcasts, Silver Linings Podcast, and it's on all the podcasting platforms.
Got a lot of our regulars in here. Abby Tahaha, McSpunky, Gifton 20. I believe McSpunky is in Utah. I might be wrong about that, but I don't know. We're going to get to Tom in just 1 second, but not everyone is completely caught up to speed here. Of course, Lori Vallow is already convicted and serving a life sentence without parole in Idaho for the murder of her 2 children. JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. And now we're in Maricopa County, which is Phoenix, and that's where her 4th husband, kind of says something right there, 4th husband. Hope I never have to say 4th wife. But anyway, 4th husband here, married from 2006 to 2019. And Charles was the adoptive father to JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. He filed for divorce in 2019, citing Lori's erratic behaviors and threats to kill him. We'll get into that in a minute. But Tom, you have a very unique perspective. So you got up there, I believe, obviously prior to jury selection. What was it like sort of watching this voir dire process? She was kind of stumbling all over the place, having trouble staying focused. And it appears that this is going to be an absolute train wreck, which a lot of people actually enjoy. And that's why you've got rubbernecking. That's how that word came around. So people are going to be watching this because of that. What is the feeling or the sense you're getting in the first couple of days that you were there and watched her try to, as Megan would say, play a lawyer in the courtroom?
Right. Yeah. I'm finding it really uncomfortable to watch her. It's not like I feel sorry for her. But she is a human being, and I guess we just feel that for other human beings, no matter what it is they've done. It's just really awkward to be in the courtroom watching her slip up, try to remember the questions she was going to ask. I'm kind of like watching her for cracks, and I feel like I'm seeing some cracks. And when she approached the jury and was actually standing face to face with the jury, she seemed to really just fall apart in that moment to me and completely lose her composure. And I wasn't sure what she was going to do, but she kind of got it back.
Yeah, we're going to see how long that lasts. So, is SCS covering the trial live? Yeah, we're going to cover it. I'm not going to be there because I'm going, as I said, to Corey Richens, and I'll be out there live. But Montana is in the house. Welcome to Montana. And again, Terry Huey, a brand new name that I don't recognize. Patty G, seeing here. La Mesa Filipino Food Club. Jersey Girl, the great state of New Jersey. So a lot of regulars and new people. Welcome to one and all. There's a comment from Lorna McKenzie, another regular STS member, Megan, to you, saying that Lori's loving all the attention. Is that an accurate statement? Do you think she is, riding this high right now? And it might not even be over after this because of Brandon Boudreaux, but is she sort of riding, the dopamine high right now? And are you waiting for her to kind of get into the irrelevant stage when everyone forgets who she is, which is coming next?
Yeah, I think one thing that we can all agree on is that Lori has always loved attention. And I think this is no exception. And I think it's the main reason we're here. Look, she's never going to leave prison, and she knows that. But I think rather than plead guilty and save everyone a lot of time and money and consternation, she decided to come and put on a show. And I think she knows this is her last chance to be in the spotlight. And I said at the end of her first trial that my silly childlike wish was that she would just fade into oblivion and that nobody would come to this trial, that there would be no cameras in the courtroom and no reporters. Obviously, I knew that wasn't realistic, given the severity of the crime generates a lot of interest. But I think she really views this as her last opportunity to be in the spotlight and to get her narrative out there. And I think she does sort of thrive on the attention that she gets. I think she probably feels like other people giving her that attention it's where she gets her validation, I think.
Pink Posey here, a very specific question. We'll kind of back into this afterwards and break it down so people know exactly what we're talking about. But Rex, did you hear Detective Hermosillo say that Alex had Googled symptoms of an embolism days before his death? New to me. So just very quick backstory. Charles Vallow had voiced concerns that he basically thought Lori was, going a little cuckoo and that she was trying to maybe kill him, even on body cam footage at one point, was telling a Chandler police officer that, which raises a whole other set of issues of why wasn't more done to maybe protect him. But Alex, of course, he is the accused trigger man, but said it was sort of a self-defense thing. And then not that long afterwards, he dies of a pulmonary embolism, which many people, including myself, think is a little suspicious. But what do you know about this question posed to you by Pink Posey, Rex?
I did hear that interview, and wasn't it a great interview with, I'm referring to the one with Nate Eaton, where I heard that. I know Detective Hermosillo's done a few interviews. And, we go back and forth as thinking, did Zulema or someone else poison Alex, or did Alex do that himself? There's no question in our minds, why say ours, again, mine and Adam, we talk about this so much. There's no question in our minds that he was killed, but that doesn't surprise me at all that he's looking for information like that.
Again, I'm going to get back to Tom, but we've got two family members here. And, right off the bat, all we're doing is talking about Lori, and this should really be about Charles. Rex, I'm going to have you mute. Yeah, thanks. But Megan, what do you want to say, or what should the public know about Charles? And then Rex, I'll have you answer the same thing.
Well, I just want to qualify to say that I didn't know Charles well. I believe I only met him in person one time, but I kept track of the family who was away from me by looking at social media. And so I always saw the posts of, the kids. And, I think Summer was the one who posted the most probably and kept the most up with everybody's activities and going ons. And from everything that I heard from every single family member, Charles loved Lori deeply, and he took really good care of her and of the kids and of her whole family. It's heartbreaking to watch the body cam footage of him begging for help and asking for help and not getting it. And I think people can probably tell by that video, he's concerned about Lori. He really cares about her. And I don't think he ever believed that, in my opinion, I think that Lori and Alex ambushed him. And I don't think that he saw it coming, honestly. I don't think he believed that they would have sunk that low.
Yeah. Uncle Rex, I mean, do you think that Lori, apparently Lori had convinced Alex on some level that he was her kind of spiritual defender? Do you think that Lori actively planned this with Alex? And also just tell us what, how you would like us to remember Charles Vallow, who's really obviously the victim here.
And I appreciate you saying that, Joel. I hope everyone realizes that Lori is the sideshow here. And we are really in this for the people that need to get justice for Charles. Everyone I know of loved Charles. Everyone in the family, of course, the Coxes, when Lori started gaslighting again, just like she did previously with her previous husband, Joseph Ryan. Up until then, everyone loved Charles. He was kind. He would type of person that would do whatever he could for anyone around him. But more than that, he's just fun to be around. He would talk. He had a very opinionated, especially politically and sports minded. So it was fun to just take the other side, whatever the other side was, and go back and forth with him. And he enjoyed that too. And just good to be around, just a good guy that you want to spend time with. So he's a loss to everyone in the family, no matter where the direct relationships are. Everyone just loved him.
It's so tragic, and I do very clearly. I'm just gonna keep you muted, Rex. I'm sorry. Oh, you did it yourself there. Where we're having a little audio hiccup when Rex is unmuted, so that is why I keep reminding Rex to mute. But we will. I'll help him out there as well. But Coco with the super sticker here, and I have a very clear image of that body cam footage, which I haven't watched in a long time, but of him basically, telling police. And so I don't know, hindsight, I got you, COE. Hindsight is 2020, right? But maybe there was more that could have been done. It seems like he knew that he was in someone's crosshairs, and sadly, that is the way it ended for him. We're going to get to okay, thank you. See, look at COE producing left and right. The executive producer extraordinaire. Tom, you wrote one book. Are you ready? I've been procrastinating on my second book, but I'm going to force myself to do it. Are you ready for this, Tom Evans?
Am I ready for what?
For book number 2. You're going to write a book about this trial, correct?
Book number 2 is done.
Oh, it's done already. Oh, it is? Okay. Oh, I did not know that. Oh, Chad Daybell. Okay. Are you doing a 3? Look at that. 2 is done. So he's, wow.
Yeah, that one's 2. It just came out 2 days ago.
Wow. What's the official title on that one?
Chad Daybell, The One Mighty and Strong.
Okay. And anywhere books are sold or what? What's the deal with that?
Well, it's on Amazon, but I think you can get it wherever.
Wow. And are you going to write a 3rd then? Now you've got me, now I'm ashamed because I haven't started 2 yet.
No, we haven't talked for a while, but yeah. I am going to write a 3rd one. I feel like book 1 and book 2 have kind of led up to something that I'm slowly getting to, which is how could Lori have committed the crimes that she committed. And I think that book 3 is going to help answer that.
And book 3, it will involve, I mean, part of it will be this trial that you're at now.
It'll be focused more on this trial, just like book 1 was on the first trial, book 2 was the second trial, but there's a lot more to it than that. It's going to be a lot more comprehensive, and my thoughts, I think, have evolved a little bit, so I think I'm going to be in a better position to write about it than I was for the first 2.
And is it just surreal for you, because you're kind of a business guy? You had no real, as far as I know, no real interest in true crime. You weren't a true crime guy. You get brought in as a juror number 18, and suddenly you're kind of like the de facto expert on all things Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, and everything else. So has it been a weird journey for you?
It has been. I got really just drawn into this, and I thought a lot about it. When Lori's trial was over, my first thought was that the high road would be for me to just move on with my life like a juror should. And but over time, I came to realize that the actual high road for me, in spite of whatever criticism I might get for doing it, would be to try to answer some questions and to write about this, because Chad and Lori aren't the only 2 people out there that are doing dangerous things. And these ideas are, the people who are using religion for their own benefit and taking advantage of other people are out there, and we need to keep the conversation about that open.
Shout out to Lindsay, who's yelling at me because I didn't realize Tom's second book was out. And Lindsay's awesome because she helps us behind the scenes. Look, McSpunky must have gotten a payday. Hold on, what do they think? Megan, you want to respond to this just about Lori representing herself, but first this, McSpunky offering up a Megan Connor snack fund. McSpunk, it must be closing some deals wherever he is. Very generous day, but yeah. What are your thoughts? And then we're going to play some video for you, but what are your thoughts on her choosing to represent herself? I mean, it's a very Lori Vallow kind of thing to do, is it not?
It is on brand for Lori to think that she is smarter than everyone else, I think. And I think part of it, though, by the way, thank you, McSpunky, because I do love my snacks. I think a big part of it is that Lori was unhappy with her representation in her first trial. I think she was unhappy with them sort of throwing Chad under the bus during closing arguments. And I think she observed the first trial and she thought, well, I can do that. That's not hard. And so I think that's a big part of it. The attention seeking is a big part of it. But also, it seems like an attractive option to an inmate to be able to appear in street clothes and to question witnesses and to not have to wear shackles and everything, although she does have the shock belt. So.
Yeah, that I've heard about. So without further ado, let me play this sound here, and then we'll break it down with the guests. Here we go.
Is claiming trial by ambush from the defense. Trial by ambush. How is the defense trial by ambush when they have interviewed every single one of these witnesses before in the last 5 years since this case started? They've interviewed every single person that has been on there. They have written, transcripted interviews and video interviews of all of these people. And so how they are relevant, these witnesses will testify if and when they are needed to add additional facts or fill in the blanks that the state will no doubt leave out.
Now I'm going to play that again in a moment. Tom, since you're the impartial juror here, just kind of set this up. What are we watching here? Obviously, shout out to Channel 3 News out in Phoenix for providing the sound. But what are we watching? She sounds, like very manic-y, high-paced. She claims she was studying law in prison, and I think she actually believes now that she's an attorney. But set this up for us. What was this like? Most of what else you saw when she appeared in court just now?
I feel like she's being really disrespectful. Just the tone of her voice. I don't know why feels like she can talk like that, but she does. And I think it's one of the cracks that I'm seeing, right? I think she's feeling the pressure. In this moment, I think this was before she spoke to the jurors, and I think she's really starting to feel the weight, the pressure that's on her to actually step up and do what she says she was going to do, which is defend herself. So we'll see how that goes as it goes on. I think it's going to
Yeah.
get harder and harder for her to do that.
I'm going to replay this because it's fairly quick, and Megan and Rex, I'd love you to react, but here we go.
State is claiming trial by ambush from the defense. Trial by ambush. How is the defense trial by ambush when they have interviewed every single one of these witnesses before in the last 5 years since this case started? They've interviewed every single person that has been on there. They have written, transcripted interviews and video interviews of all of these people. And so how they are relevant, these witnesses will testify if and when they are needed to add additional facts or fill in the blanks that the state will no doubt leave out.
It's a mouthful, but Megan, what do you make of that clip there? I mean, she sounds kind of amped up on like Adderall or something. I don't know, but what do you make of that clip?
Well, Lori has filed several motions unsuccessfully, and I think this is probably one of the first times in her life that she's really not getting her way. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing her frustration that her motions continue to be denied. And when the judge denied her final motion, which was she was trying to get the case dismissed on grounds of prosecutorial misconduct. And when the judge denied that final motion, her mic was still hot and she said, of course. Mm-hmm. So I think we're seeing her frustration that she's filed these multiple motions, really trying to maintain control of this process and trying to keep control of what's happening in court. And she just can't do it. And I think she's really frustrated by that. I think her normal tricks of charm and ingratiation just aren't working in this particular setting.
Yeah, I think it's going to get worse for her. So Justine Shrimshire here, new name, and thank you for this. After watching Lori in the courtroom, I have so much more compassion for her victims and family members. They've endured so much. Rex, you care to comment about that comment?
Sure. I think Megan's being a little bit too generous to Lori. I think it's just theater. I don't think she is knowledgeable enough or thinking of other people enough to think that she's under pressure or cracking or getting behind. She's just manipulating, and this is the theater of her life. And so using that tone, playing the poor me, look at all this happening to me, I think is just theater. None of us are in our hearts and minds, so we're all just speculating. But I just think it's theater.
Yeah, we'll kind of be like a support group for one another because we are gonna play this live. We're going to carry this trial live, and it'll just be our chat. I'll be in here, and periodically we will have special guests like Megan and Rex and Tom join us. They're going to obviously be in court. Megan and Rex will. I'm sorry, Megan and Tom will. But Rex and maybe Adam and others will hop on with us periodically during the day to just comment on what we're seeing. But it's going to be a show. Which it really shouldn't be, but that's what Lori, I think, is trying to make this turn into. From Sally, another question to Megan: why does she repeat specific words and phrases? I don't know if you've noticed that. Is this something that she's always done? Is it an obsessive thing? What is it about her?
Well, I think Lori exhibits a lot of personality disorder traits. And one of the markers of histrionic personality disorder is that emphasis in repeating phrases. She liked to underline and bold and capitalize words in her motions. And I think that's what, it's just one of the markers of someone who doesn't know how to get their point across in a healthy way or to communicate in a healthy way. And so they repeat words and phrases, they use emphasis, they use heightened emotionality. And I think we've seen a lot of that from Lori. And of course, I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not trying to diagnose her, but we know that she has been diagnosed with personality disorders. We just don't know the specificity of that other than that she has delusional disorder with hyperreligiosity.
This was a very interesting kind of development. Tom Evans, and you were in the courtroom, I'm sure, from Diane Vaughn, telling the jurors that they have to protect her from the state, and the judge takes more audacity than I knew existed. She did come out and I think say that to the jurors. What was the context there? How did that come up and how did that come across?
Yeah, when she was addressing the jurors, she was trying to tell them that that was their job. That was why they were there, was to protect her from the state, which in a sense is true, but that's not the whole thing, right? Not the whole reason they're there. They're there for justice. And,
Yeah.
you know, of course, that's what we're going to see. But yeah.
So, just back to you, Tom. The jury, I think it's a 16 person panel. Obviously, there are going to be some alternates, but there's 13 men, 3 women. What have you sort of made of the jurors and the fact that it is predominantly male? Do you think that benefits Lori or it doesn't really matter?
I don't think it's going to matter. I think it probably does benefit her. In the end, I think justice is going to get served no matter what. I don't think she has any chance of winning her case. But for her, she's got to be happy about that. And I think it kind of happened really fast, the jury selection process, compared to what we went through in Idaho. And I just think that it just happened to be, I don't think Lori manipulated anything to make it be more men than women. I think it just kind of happened to be that way.
So Megan, to you, why did it happen so fast? I think they sat the jury in a day or so, right?
Yeah, it was really fast. And, you know, Tom and I were talking about this earlier, and Tom was reminding us that the process in Idaho for striking potential jurors was very slow because they would pass papers back and forth through the courtroom. And I think what ended up happening here is that the judge addressed the potential panel with a lot of general questions. And then the jurors who were sitting in the jury box got questions both from the state and from the defense. And then once those were over, they had a conference. They turned on the white noise in the courtroom, and the state and the defense put their headphones on, and they did their strikes that way rather than passing papers back and forth to voice objections or whatever. And so I think it just went a lot faster because they were able to just conference right there and talk together with everyone seated. And I think they were able to eliminate some people who had hardships and people who had conflicts just really quickly. And I was really shocked when the judge said, I think we'll have the jury sworn and seated today. I was like, what, really? I was happy about it though, because that means we get a couple days off.
Yeah, you sure do. And I was reading up on this and dare I say Karen Reed last night, which I'm refusing to cover because of the craziness of it. But they're saying that jury selection in that case could take, up to a month, which I don't think it will, but they always leave room because, they've got to seat a fair and impartial jury. But this jury was seated particularly fast. Dr. Vonda Kay is back. This one will pull at your heartstrings. Lori's Lies and Family Ties, Healing from the Tylee and JJ Tragedy by Rex Connor and Adam Cox. There you go. So just to catch some people up to speed who might not be. So this current trial is obviously, again, in Phoenix. The charge here for Lori is conspiracy to commit murder in the death of Charles Vallow, who, again, is her 4th husband. She's accused of planning this murder with Alex Cox, and prosecutors say she believed that Charles was possessed and already dead. She pleaded not guilty. Rex, just to this part, I mean, we've kind of beating this a little bit like a dead horse, but when you hear that she believed that Charles was possessed and already dead, I just can't quite figure her out because she comes across like there's a grain of like awareness, like a little bit, and then she just says things and goes completely off the rails. So what about this particular this contention from the government that they are saying that she is saying that he was possessed and already dead? What do you make of that?
First, let me thank Dr. Vonda Kay for bringing that out. Our mutual friend that is just great for everyone. But Lori doesn't believe that crap. She makes it up. She and Chad make it up to manipulate the weak minds that they are trying to attract around themselves. And I understand she has delusional disorder, and I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or someone that knows all the depths of that, but we're dealing with a person who is basically evil. And that is what evil people do. They will make crap up to manipulate. Alex was able to be manipulated fairly easily. They manipulated each other. They manipulated the other weak minds around them. So one of the stories, I mean, great for, that whatever mentality Chad came from, Dungeons and Dragons or whatever Under the Stairs was, great for that. But, and for the people that were around him, but she didn't believe that. I think she even told Colby she didn't believe that, but that's what it was. It's not a mystery that she's floating around mindlessly in this delusion. She's obviously manipulating whomever is in front of her with whatever she thinks will work.
So just to make sure I understand, you think she's hyper aware then, and she's just using all this to her advantage essentially, but she knows what she's doing.
Hyper aware meaning she's aware of how everything around her affects her. And she's so caught up in herself, she hopes, like we all do to some degree, that when we're caught in a lie or when we're threatened or when we aren't getting what we want, whatever we do next, we hope it's going to work in that situation. But she's not aware of the other people around her. She's just aware of herself and what she thinks will work. She's aware she has needs in that situation.
So let me ask it just a slightly different way. Like, do you think she is crazy or just manipulative or both?
I think the term evil describes it better than both of those with respect to that. I think she's both, but at the foundation of her craziness, her manipulation, her personality disorders, at the foundation is evil, a person choosing to do bad. That's the foundation, no matter what other titles you put on it.
Yeah, and that's great. My father would be proud of you. He's a psychiatrist, and he would have liked that comment. I'm going to keep you muted. Oh, Rex, you know what? There's another question. How do you think Adam's going to do? And Adam couldn't make it tonight, but we'll get him back on. With the attitude Lori seems to have in this trial, how do you think Adam is going to hold up here?
That's a good question. I would have answered it differently about a week to 10 days ago, but as it's come closer and Adam's had to talk with the prosecutor and with Lori's investigator, it's such an emotional battle. I've tried to imagine it, and I can't quite get there because I haven't faced that. But for him to have to go through this, and worse than that, worry about his son, Zach, possibly having to go through it, that is a burden to carry that I can't quite appreciate. So I'm not going to try to predict how he'll do, but he sure has a lot of people that love him, that are praying for him. So that's working in his favor.
We'll send him our well wishes, and I will get him on the show. Lee Dundee here, gifting 5 memberships. Thank you. A very generous crew tonight. We appreciate it. This is going to be an odd trial. From Lindsay Gandy, we have a SOD on what do we have at COE? I'm looking for the soundbite, but while I do that, Lindsay Gandy here, give me a sec. Do you think she's trying to play a religious martyr? Megan, this obviously kind of dovetails off of what I was just talking about with the Rex. Is she playing a religious martyr in, her fantasy land here, but really doing what Rex is saying, which is being plain evil and manipulative?
I agree with Rex. I think that she is evil. I think that she is manipulative. I think she has deluded herself into believing some of her religious beliefs, but I think that she uses that as just a tactic, as kind of as Rex was saying. I don't know. It's so hard to, to put it concisely. I just really think that that the religious beliefs are a tool for her. I think she does suffer from a little bit of a persecution complex. I think she does believe the whole world is out to get her. But I think that would probably exist, religion or not. I think that she just uses whatever tools she has at her disposal to manipulate the situation to get what she wants and needs.
Yeah, and Megan, someone was asking in the chat about her complaining about her shock vest. So she's in civilian clothes, but she does have something. Can you explain what that is and why she's annoyed about it?
So they call it a rack belt, and it's a belt that it's a black belt that goes underneath the clothes, and a bailiff has the remote control to that and can shock her if she does anything she's not supposed to do. One of her final motions was to be completely unrestrained in the courtroom. And she was using the argument that she can't appear to look any different than the prosecutor. So she has the constitutional right to wear street clothes, and she has the constitutional right to not wear handcuffs or leg shackles. But that's the reason why they have invented this shock belt for defendants who want to represent themselves. So she is allowed to be at the defense table. She is allowed to go to the podium to question witnesses. She is not allowed to approach the judge's bench or the jury in any way. So if she makes a move in that direction, the bailiff, it's up to her or him, whoever the bailiff is, to push the button on the remote control. The reason she was upset about it is because she filed that motion to be completely unrestrained in the courtroom. And then the sheriff's office filed a response to that motion saying the sheriff's office has the right and the responsibility to do everything in their power to protect the public, to protect the jury. And so therefore his recommendation was that they have extra bailiffs in the courtroom as well as the shock belt. Lori's argument, which was a weak one, was that she was trying to say that the sheriff's assertion was because there were going to be extra bailiffs, they didn't need the shock belt. She was incorrect. That's not what the sheriff was saying. He said, we're going to have both. And so she pushed back on the judge several times and said, this is the way I see it. And the judge said, well, that's not the way it is. And she said, well, why not? And the judge said, because that's the way I ordered it. That's what I ordered. I ordered you to wear the shock belt and to have extra bailiffs if necessary.
So does it act kind of like a taser, like it just incapacitates her if something were to happen? Imagine if that thing gets buzzed during the trial. That would steal all the headlines. Can you see it? Can you physically see it, Megan?
You can't see it. It's worn underneath the clothing. So the jury will not be aware that she is an incarcerated person currently. That's the point of that shock belt.
Got it. And that makes a lot of sense. I love the jury was picked so fast, Tom Evans. She was saying it would take weeks because she's so famous. Great point. Obviously they were able to seat what they believe is an impartial panel. Are you surprised, Tom, that it was as quick as it was, being how high profile her first case was?
Yeah, I was really surprised. In Idaho, they just spent a lot more time. The attorneys on both sides had a lot more time to question the potential jurors. And it went on for, I can't even remember how long it went, but it was a week, I think. And each part of the process, each step took a lot longer in Idaho than they spent here. And I don't know how that's going to play out, if that means that these jurors maybe not quite as qualified as they could be. Maybe they didn't dig deep enough to make sure of that. But it was nice to have it done quick.
That's for sure. You think the trial is going to move along quickly? Because they're saying 5 weeks. I can't imagine it's going to take that long.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense that Lori's going to have nothing. And I think it's going to go faster than people realize. I don't think she's going to have much of a defense. And I'm starting to feel like she might just kind of fall apart anyway and really not follow through with anything and call a lot of witnesses. We'll just have to see.
Yeah. So Megan, I want to come to you on that. She's got like a legal counsel, like a person that she can rely on. Before we get into that though, just some notes of mine that I was looking at. She claims that she was studying case law in prison and says she has courtroom experience because she was a murder defendant, which is ridiculous. She also complained a lot about being on a 23-hour lockdown because she had no access to notes to really prepare. Said that she didn't have proper communication with her paralegal. And then at one point, she also asked the jurors if they would judge her unfairly if she does not testify. So all these things together, it does not take a therapist or a psychologist to realize that I think she is enjoying this. She is getting that dopamine hit that I was talking about because people are talking about her. We're talking about her. The people that are interested in this case are going to be watching it. How do you process all that as a family member? To everyone else, this is just maybe not another true crime story, but disturbing story about what by all accounts is a deranged woman. But to you, this is your family.
Yeah, I think the hard part of it for me is that I had to mourn the death of the cousin that I knew and loved. I think Colby has talked about this, about having to mourn a person who still is out there living and walking around. But it's a completely different person. It's not the real Lori. It is this evil version of Lori. And I think the hardest part of that for me is, all of the good memories that I have with Lori are sort of now tarnished by her current behavior. And I had to grieve that along with grieving the fact that my cousins killed my cousins. That's just something that obviously none of us family members ever expected that something like this would happen or that we would be put in this position. But I think all of us in our way are trying to make the best of it and trying to find ways to heal and to move forward. And even though we all do that in different ways, it's a different journey for each of us. But, what I hope that comes out of this is that Lori becomes a cautionary tale and that people start to have more conversations about healthier relationships and healthier families and healthier religions. And that's always what I want to talk about.
Very, very well said. Abby Crossing, friend of ours, friend of the show, has been here a long time, and she also helps behind the scenes. To Tom and Megan. Tom, I'll throw this one to you. Your opinions on Judge Boreski being there now that you're there in person. I find him to be incredibly seasoned and ready for the patience it'll take to protect this record. I mean, this is going to be a big job for the judge here, more so, I think, of a burden than a judge typically has to preserve the record and make sure everything is all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So what are your thoughts on the judge up to this point?
And I thought the same thing about Judge Boyce in Idaho. This is going to take just the right judge to be able to get through this without any hitches and to be able to control the courtroom, control Lori. And so far, it feels like he is going to be that guy. He seems extremely experienced. Nothing seems to surprise him. He's able to hold his temper. You don't see him get really impatient. You can sense a little bit of it, but not overly so. And that's what it's going to take. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about how he's going to handle things.
What a powerful panel. Love Megan, Grunkle Rex. This is from Hokey Leah. Thank you. We're going to play this other piece of sound now. We're going to talk about Brandon Boudreaux as well. But here is the second piece of sound, if I'm playing the right one, COE. Here we go.
Many know the name, but the story of the so-called Doomsday Mom really started here in Arizona back in 2019, an exchange between Charles Vallow, Lori's fourth husband, with East Valley Police.
She's at a break. Says, I'm Nick Snyder. I've taken over Charles' body, and Charles will get killed. I'm going to kill you. You're going to be murdered today or tomorrow.
And just months later,
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense.
So that's part of the story, but this is the soundbite that is haunting and chilling
Snyder,
here.
I've taken over Charles' body. Says, I'm Nick Snyder. I've taken over Charles' body, and Charles will get killed. I'm going to kill you. You're going to be murdered today or tomorrow.
and just
Rex, I got to get your take on watching that. I hadn't watched that in a very long time, but I remember it because it is haunting. Do you think more should have been done by the Chandler PD, or is hindsight 2020?
Yeah, I can't sit in judgment on the Chandler PD. We wish more would have been done, of course. But as soon as I say they should have, I'm placing blame, which I'm not in a position to place. But yeah, we all wish they would have done more. I wish they would have done gunshot residue on Lori to see if she fired the second shot. I mean, there are all sorts of wishes. I wish it never happened, but I don't want to judge them and their professionalism because the police are out there doing the best they can.
Megan, to you, we were talking briefly off camera, and I hope you're okay with me bringing this up, but there was a substantial amount of jurors questioned who had family members that have been, in custody, who have been incarcerated. What did you make of that? It was a fairly decent number. I think the number is large in general, nationally. I think there's like 30 or 40% of people have been incarcerated at one point, which is I was stunned when I heard that number. But what did it mean to you when you heard this in court?
It is a stunning statistic. I had no idea it was that high. I was shocked to see almost 50% of the jurors in that room, out of the 63 that were being questioned, had family members. And the question was, how many of you have family members who have been convicted of a crime greater than a misdemeanor? So we're talking about convicted felons. And it was both fascinating and heartbreaking for me to hear those individual jurors tell the stories of their family members who had been incarcerated. And some of them, before they were born, and some of them didn't have much contact with those family members or know very much about their cases or anything like that. But it really made me feel less alone, because in this process, I mean, I haven't really met many other people who have family members who have been, jailed for murdering other family members. I think that's a much smaller pool of people, but I felt pretty alone in this whole process. It's pretty difficult to go through. Not very many people understand it. And I was relating earlier that when I took some of these issues to my therapist, he was very helpful, of course, because he's a great therapist. But I really appreciated being able to talk with Dr. John Mathias from Hidden True Crime, because it's his job to evaluate offenders. And so he has a lot more experience understanding the dynamics of how this affects people. And I had a great conversation with him and appreciated it so much, because it's so rare to be able to find someone that knows what that experience is like.
And I love that Megan is very open about, going to a therapist and talk. You need to get help to get through this. Crazy Mom RN here to Rex. Such a strong family. Rex, a lot of people say to my mom, including myself, you're so strong, you survived the Holocaust. But, it's kind of just the circumstances that were put upon her. She didn't have much choice. And I guess in retrospect, it has made her a lot stronger. But do you guys view yourself as a special kind of family, that you have the strength to endure all this? Or is it just a necessary part of being a family member to this person where you have no other choice?
Well, let me combine my answer to that with something my family member here said. Megan said earlier, we want all families to take something away from this. We don't feel like we're particularly strong. The rift in the family is still real. And we want other people to see that and say, boy, they're just being real. This stuff could happen in our family. Hopefully not serial killers in the family, but bad stuff happens in a majority of families. And you really need to listen to Megan's voice, listen to Adam's voice. That's his message. Hey, in your families, talk more, call people out when they're going off the rails, get them help. That's what we want people to think of with the family, not, boy, they're strong, they're getting through this. We aren't doing that great. I think we're doing like any other family might do. I think we have other stuff going on in the family besides this, nothing more egregious than this, but other stuff going on. And, we just hopefully will be an example of people that just keep trying to stay positive and do the right thing with their family members.
Yeah, life is complicated. Families are complicated. Maybe we should all be dogs. I think the planet would be much better off if we were all just four-legged canines running around. Rex, people are asking, how come you are not going to the trial? Is there a specific reason you're staying away?
Oh, I didn't say I'm not going. I'm just not there now.
Oh, okay.
I'm planning on being there Monday with 3 of my daughters that want to go, and I want to be there when Adam testifies, if he actually ends up testifying. Anytime a family member's there, I'd like to be there with him, because it's you don't want to go through that by yourself, being a family member in a trial. You don't want to go through it with someone else, but there is some strength in numbers. So there are several family members that aren't and shouldn't attend. It is a tremendous emotional burden, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but if someone wants to, I certainly want to be there with them.
Yeah, and how are your daughters doing? How old are they, if I can ask, and how are they doing?
Yeah, they're old like Megan.
None of them are as old as me.
And you aren't as old as me, so I'll take that trophy. And they aren't doing that well. These 3 want to go because, as it was in Lori's trial, it's kind of like you have a viewing at a funeral, to make it real and to be able to grasp the reality of it. So you have something to talk about with your therapist the next time you go back. I mean, all of us are going to therapists. The youngest daughter isn't and shouldn't go. She was Tylee and JJ's nanny for a while, and she just says she doesn't want to deal with it. Well, she's dealing with it her own way by not following it too closely. And the best piece of advice from her, I'll share with everyone. She said, Dad, Lori is a sick person. My bar is so low for her to surprise me or to do something rational that I don't need to follow it. I don't need to hear anything that she says. And I really like her example and her philosophy of it.
Yeah, I think this is actually the most important part of the show, if I may chime in, that what Rex is saying and his honesty, which is what Nicole's saying. We all live in an Instagram world where everything is perfect, and we all know that is not true. And you're looking at a family struggling with a real life relative and the family dynamics. And I just love the fact that Rex and Megan talk so openly about, as the son of a psychiatrist and the son of a social worker, a licensed therapist, that they talk so openly about needing to get help. Everyone needs help at some point in their life, some more than others. But I love the fact that they're being honest and open and, not putting up sort of a false facade. It ain't easy, and it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be completely over. Tom Evans, I guess, what's your biggest observation from, your first time being called as an alternate juror, which you didn't even know at the beginning, obviously, but from that point to now seeing her, what has been, I guess, the biggest transition in her demeanor or the way you look at her?
Can I add something to what they,
Megan
and Rex said first, from the perspective of an outsider? I've gotten to know a lot of the family members, sitting in court and calling them and talking about, what I'm writing about and everything else. And I really appreciate them, because they could be hiding away somewhere, right? They don't have to put themselves out here. And they do, they choose to. They've made that choice. And I find that to be extremely powerful. It takes a lot of guts, and I've seen so much emotion. I see a fierceness in a lot of them, and anguish, all of that. And they're exposing themselves to all of us with that stuff. And I really appreciate that. I think it says a lot for who they are. So I can't speak for the family.
I'm going to say I agree 100%. They're a kind of a symbol of strength now, as we're talking about them right in front of them. But what about the change from trial number 1 to this trial with Lori? What have you noticed different?
You know, I didn't really know that much about her in the beginning. The first time I actually heard her speak in person was at her sentencing after the trial. The second time was sitting here in Phoenix listening to her talk. And I think, but I see a person who I think she's feeling her weaknesses. I think she thought she was going to enjoy this, and I don't think she's enjoying it right now. I think it's kind of coming down on her in this moment. So it's going to be interesting to watch how that develops.
Yeah. And Tom, I don't know, is your wife with you there? Your wife is often by your side. How's this impacting her?
So as much as this has changed my life for the last 2 years, it's been 2 years since I got called into jury duty. It's affected hers the same way because she has been right with me the whole time, supporting me. She does all the stuff that I don't want to do. I sit there and I write stuff and then hand it over to her, and she has to do everything else, including mailing books or any of the technical side of the thing on the computer, stuff that I just don't want to deal with, dealing with editors and publishers, whatever. She does all of that.
Well, that's good teamwork. So kudos to her, and tell her that she's getting some credit, at least from STS here. This is obviously Charles Vallow, with and without hair. By all accounts, just a great guy. Gone way too soon. And then Megan, you look at this comment here. This is why I love STS. This is a difficult comment I'm about to put up, but from Mayhem Nation, my brother just shot and killed my sister-in-law December 6th. So no, you're not alone. What's your advice to someone who might be? There are a lot of victims in here in the STS community. If someone is going through something as serious as this or a little less serious, what is your advice?
Well, I can't, I don't ever give people advice. But I will say, in my experience, what helped me the most was to say how I felt out loud. And for me, that meant, with my therapist, with my close friends and family members, and, in the venues where I can have a positive conversation about making positive change. And so I know a lot of people who go through tragedies like this, it can sort of infect and take over their whole life. And so I guess for me, I didn't want it to do that. But I wanted to try and use the tragedy as a means of having a conversation to prevent future tragedy, if that makes sense. And so for me, it's talking about it openly, talking about how we got here and how we can prevent other families from suffering as well.
Really well said, which is what I expected, which is why I asked the question. But Tom Evans, back to you. The COE had her own question up there, which is essentially, there it is. Since you've been in a juror in this position, what is going on in a juror's mind as they've just been seated on one of the biggest trials of the year? I'm not sure that they know the extent of it. I don't know that you knew the extent of it. Did you? And I guess what would your advice be to these jurors, which I know you can't give them, but what would you say to them if you could?
Yeah. So first of all, what's going through their minds right now is, how in the hell did I get here? Why am I sitting here? And could I have gotten out of this some way? They probably did not expect. There's a huge pool, and they probably didn't expect to be sitting there at this point. For me, I was just thinking, well, my number's going to get called and I'm going to walk out of here. And then all of a sudden that didn't happen. So yeah, and they don't know what they're in for. It's not going to be, I don't think, quite as severe as it was in Lori and Chad's trial, where we were dealing with the deaths of Tylee and JJ. But it's a murder trial, and it's horrible. And it's going to be possibly long. So it's not going to be easy for them. They don't realize it yet. It's going to have some kind of effect. I don't like to speak for other jurors because I know it's a different journey. As much as we're all together, it's our own personal journey that we take through this. And so I can't really speak for them, but I do know that it's going to be a little more than what they're expecting.
Yeah. And I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, Tom, about Chad Daybell, since you just wrote a book about him. which I didn't know. I just didn't realize that it was out yet, but you told me it was 2 days ago. So I'm kind of feel a little justified there. But what do you think? It's obviously very hard to project or figure out, but what do you think is happening with him? There was a comment here that said that, he probably was, quote unquote, the more sane of the two. I don't know if that's true or not, but if you had to guess, what do you think is running through his mind right now?
Yeah. So I sat, I don't know, 10 or 15 feet from him in court every day, just watching him and trying to sense what he was feeling, trying to read some emotion or anything. And he's a pretty, boring, emotionless looking guy as he sits there. But as time went on, I felt like I was starting to be able to read some things because I had looked at him for so long. And I think I really felt like I could see a physical change happening over the course of the trial. And I thought about that a lot. And it took me a while to actually understand what I think that was. And I think as he sat there with his hands folded in front of him, day after day in front of the family that he heard and the jurors and the judge and everybody else, I think it was starting to sink into him. The weight, the seriousness of what he did. I don't know. Reality was starting to creep in. At least that's my hope. Because if that's true, then at some point he's going to have to come to terms with that. And that's what we hope for anybody, even somebody as horrible as Chad, is that they're eventually able to understand what they did and ask for forgiveness from God, if nobody else, I guess.
Well said. I mean, it is very, I mean, we talk about true crime, like they're dramas, but if you just step back out of like the bubble a little bit and you think about what these two people did and the fact that they thought that, these people were possessed by demons, it's like bone chilling. And then you hear Rex say that he's pretty convinced that Lori was just manipulating everyone, doesn't even, believe that. So it's chilling, it's haunting. And, it's not just a true crime story, which is why I actually love having Megan and Rex here, because it is a family. There was a comment earlier, Megan, that, it only takes one. We got 13 male jurors. We just talked about this in our original case that we've covered, true crime wise, which is the Dan Markel murder. And you've got Wendy Adelson, the ex-wife. A lot of people think could be indicted next after the mother. And she, they call it like the Wendy spell. She's got these blue eye contacts, and people have referred to Lori in a similar vein, that she can get men. Chad Daybell, I don't know how much of a manly man he is, but she has the ability to lure men in, and it only takes one juror. Do you have concerns? Do you have worries about that? And what would not getting justice? I don't think this is going to happen, but what if a juror, decides that they cannot convict here? What would that do for you, for the family? Justice for Charles Vallow. I mean, she's never leaving prison either way, but what would it do? What would it mean?
Well, first of all, I think that Charles deserves justice. And in my opinion, allegedly, she's guilty of the crime that she's being charged with. And so I would hate to see it if she did not receive a conviction, of course. I'm not concerned, though, about the jury being predominantly male. First of all, I can tell you, observing the process, it was so incredibly randomized that there's absolutely no way that Lori manipulated that system in any way. And there was nothing wrong with, I think I saw a comment go by early on that the judge, how could the judge accept such a male-dominated jury? Well, that's really not how it works. So anyway, I just wanted to say that it was really randomized, and Lori did not influence the fact that there were more men than women on the jury. But I'm really not worried about it, because watching Lori in court, reading her motions and listening to her try to form a legal argument, I really don't think she has a leg to stand on. I think her hubris is going to convict her. And I believe that she doesn't have the knowledge that she needs to make the legal arguments that she's trying to present. And what's interesting about her motions is that she'll reference case law. She, of course, has 2 advisory counsel attorneys, and she has a paralegal, and she also has an investigator, all at her disposal to help her present her case. But at the end of the day, Lori is the one who's trying the case, and she's the one who has to come up with the objections on the fly. She's the one who has to think on her feet and redirect when a witness testifies of something. And I just don't think she has the knowledge or the intelligence that she needs to do that. So I'm not really concerned that the jury is going to be swayed by her. I really think she already has appeared to be fairly incompetent, and I don't think it's going to get better.
I think it goes without saying, a lot of people give lawyers a hard time, but it is a profession, and there are levels to the game, as they say in the fight game. I'll tell you a 3-second side story. So I was covering politics for Fox News, and I'm a diehard UFC fan, and at covering the Super Bowl. That was one of the perks of working at Fox News. And right next to me is the president of the UFC doing a Fox Sports interview. And I've interviewed Dana White before, so he kind of knew of me. So as soon as I'm done with my interview, I rip out my earpiece, and Dana was just finishing his interview, and I said to him, I cannot cover politics another second. I'm going to, myself. He starts laughing, and he said, oh, we have a position for a second play-by-play team. I'm going to bring you out to LA to audition you. So I worked for 2 straight weeks with Bruce Beck, who's a very well-known sportscaster in New York, and I came in second place. But my whole point in telling you this story is the guy who won and got that job was an ESPN play-by-play guy, and I just couldn't compete. It is a skill. You just watch a basketball game or you watch a fight and you think like, it's so natural to these people, but it is a skill, and Lori does not possess that skill, and I don't think she's going to possess it in the courtroom. And to Megan's point, the whole moral of that story, it's going to come back to bite her in the ass. And she, like myself, is going to lose. She's not going to win. And I'm still bitter. I don't know if she'll be bitter, but that's the point of the story. Colby Ryan is Lori's son, Megan. He apparently is not coming to the trial. Have you talked to him? How's he doing? What do we know about Colby's situation right now? And I know he's got, I think, a podcast called Scar Wars. So shout out to him for that.
Yeah, he's got a great podcast, and he's come so far, I think, in dealing with this situation. I think he's in a really healthy place. I haven't spoken to him personally, but he and I have showed up in each other's chat from time to time. He knows that the door is open if he ever does want to talk with me, or if he ever needs something from me. I just wish him all the best. I think he's doing a great job in a really terrible situation.
Rex, to you, and we'll get some final thoughts in a few minutes. Rich saying that Megan is spot on 100%. But when did it occur to you that, Lori was not all there, that this was all heading in a very bad direction?
Well, it was several years before this. She espoused some beliefs and just strange things. Now, I didn't have any foreknowledge. No one would have guessed, I don't think, but especially me, that it would go this badly. But she was kind of on the fringe with several beliefs she had and several perspectives in life. But you say, okay, Lori can be Lori and do her thing. As far as it being serious, when Charles sent out the emails to family members saying, I need help, Lori's gotten into some weird stuff, and he attached the attachments telling us what she's gotten into, I recognize that from decades ago. Within the Mormon community, about every generation, there's a group, a strange group of people that follow near-death experiences. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but do that and become preppers. And I had been on the fringe. Well, I had friends in the last generation's group, so I could recognize they just copy the same stuff from generation to generation. There's not a lot of it that's new. All the visions and all the revelations, they just took them from the last group of crackpots that did it the last generation. When I saw that, I thought, oh no, this is it's bad to get mixed up with stuff like that. You're dealing with delusion, with the Messiah complex. You're dealing with being evil, thinking you're better. You know more than other people. You know more than, you're smarter than the people around you. You're smarter than religious people, church people, whatever it is. It's just bad. And that, of course, it was too late. I was not in contact with Lori. I didn't have any influence, but that's the first time I knew it was serious.
By the way, if you appreciate the content, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. We also have a Patreon page, which goes a long way in supporting the channel. And obviously check out Silver Linings, which is Rex's podcast, and Midlife Revolution. What is it? Midlife. I'm sorry.
The midlife revolution. That's
Midlife
okay.
because I'm having a midlife crisis. I always want to throw the word crisis in there. But from Jermaine here, Tom, I watched 2 of your fellow female juror interviews with Nate Eaton last night, and they both mentioned being disgusted by seeing specific behaviors from Lori as a male juror. Did you experience that? I don't know what specifically those behaviors are, but your thoughts.
Yeah, she's just offensive in court, and like for the jury, I'm as easily taken in as any man. But when it comes to Lori, there's nothing there. There's no, whatever used to work for her is not working anymore. So that the fact that there's 13 men on that jury is not going to be a big deal.
Tom, by the way, Ned Smith, who runs STS Singles for us, she is salivating over your voice. So you need a podcast next, and Ned Smith will be your first listener. But we joke that she always has her hair in a bun with a big either knitting or sewing needle. I always forget which. But Tom Evans, for those who do not know, is juror number 18 from the first trial. He's also the author of Lori Vallow's book, a book about Lori Vallow, which is Money, Power, and Sex, the Lori Vallow Daybell Trial. And then he already has book number 2, which I have not even really begun. Tom, please hold that book up and tell us the title one more time so everyone can see it. It is Chad Daybell. What is the subtitle there?
Chad Daybell, the One Mighty and Strong. I have to read it myself.
Yeah,
Religious zealotry, Mormon fundamentalism, and murder in Idaho.
I love it. And you can get that anywhere books are sold.
Yep.
There you go. Tom, your final thoughts. Is the jury going to handle this as a former Vallow juror? Are they going to handle this? And is Charles Vallow going to get justice here?
Charles Vallow is going to finally get justice, and I'm really happy to see that for the family. That is what's going to happen here. There's no other outcome. The jury will be fine. You have to give jurors credit. Yeah, it'll all work out.
Tom, by the way, just a great guy. Again, I met him at Crime Con, and what you see is what you get. Genuine, sweet person, and that's probably why he was picked as a juror. That was his. It's both a blessing and a curse, I guess, because he was a sweet guy and seems like he could be very impartial. That's why I'm sure he was chosen. Robin Lane here. Love seeing STS Old Time Jury 18 Rex, and of course, Megan all together. Love having them there. STS, as you see at the bottom, will air Lori's trial live. If anything, we can be a support group for each other. Consider it AA for Lori Vallow here at STS. That's what we will do. For those who do not know, now you know. Rex Connor is Lori Vallow's uncle. He's in Utah, the great state of Utah, which I'm going to head to for the Corey Richins trial. And maybe I'll meet up with the Rex while I'm there. I don't know how I'm going to be, I guess, in the Park City area. I don't know how far that is from you. But Rex, your final thoughts here, and how are you feeling, I guess, ahead of this trip that you're about to make to Phoenix?
I'm looking forward to reconnecting with this family, just people like Megan and Tom, Kay and Larry. I always hug them when I see them and thank them for getting the ball rolling with the police. Ray Hermosillo's become the face of the army of law enforcement people it's taken to bring justice to Lori and Chad. And so I'm looking forward to that part. Not looking forward to being in the trial. I'm looking forward to thanking the media, including podcasters like you, Joel, with this great podcast. So I guess, mixed emotions with that. I need to tell Mary Conrad, thanks for noticing the family resemblance here. That's a great compliment to me. Megan, sorry about that. But
I just have more hair than you. That's all.
that's not all. That's not all.
Yeah. By the way, if we were doing Karen Reed, there'd be 15,000 people banned in the comments section. I'd have 10 million hate emails already. So you got to choose your poison, I guess. From La Mesa Filipina Food Club here, Joel, blessings to you and Carl. Thank you. As you commemorate, today is the 2-year anniversary of my father's death. So I am off to the synagogue after this to say a little prayer for him. According to, he actually died on March 27th, but you go according to the Jewish calendar, which is a whole complicated thing to figure out. But thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. Megan Connor, of course, is Lori Vallow's cousin. She is the host, I finally will get it right, of the Midlife Revolution podcast. Anywhere you find podcasts, another all-around great human. I mean, I can't overstate this enough. I mean, you're seeing it. Rex and Megan just are super genuine, super honest about things not being easy, super honest about all the, the problems that they've endured, and then dealing with a relative like Lori obviously is brutal. So I will leave it open-ended, Megan, and I hope both of you, Rex and Tom, all three of you, will join us during the course of this trial at night or right after court to let us know how everything's going. But Megan, your final thoughts heading into this.
It's been a long journey. I'm looking forward to there being justice for Charles and justice for Brandon, and then for putting this chapter behind me in a lot of ways. And when I met eyes with Lori yesterday afternoon, I had this realization that I really felt nothing. I don't love her. I don't hate her. I nothing her. For anybody who's a Seinfeld fan, you know what that is from. But I was happy to note that I've gotten to that place, that I've worked through all of these emotions of grief, and not to say that I'm not going to feel grief from time to time or anger towards her or any emotions, but I don't feel anything for that person who is in the courtroom. And I'm grateful that I'm there, because I don't want to spend any more emotional energy thinking about the horrible things that she's done. So I'm here for Charles, for justice for Charles. I'm here for the family members, and I nothing Lori.
And that is really well said. Almost impossible to follow that up, but you just heard she feels nothing. That's basically what she deserves. Lee T here. Thank you, Tom, Megan, and Grunkle Rex. An amazing family, an amazing former juror, and Tom Evans and his wife, who's always by his side, which I love. Nothing her is perfect, from Marta Fonda. Wonder if she's related. Let us know if you're related to Jane. Anyway, we are going to follow this case, this trial live right here on STS. It begins with opening statements on Monday, and you can watch it here. Tomorrow night, we're doing kind of an interesting show at 5 p.m. Eastern, talking about Luigi Mangione and Brian Kohberger, both under 30, both facing the death penalty, talking about the death penalty, the crimes they committed, and we have two legal scholars on that, so it should be interesting, a little bit different. And then America's most respected detective, Phil Waters, said, you know what? I'm sick of Wendy Adelson. The last 3 weeks, they were breaking down Wendy Adelson's police interview. We're going to pivot on Friday, and Phil Waters and Phil Ramos, who have about 60 years combined in homicide and just a bazillion cases solved, they are going to break down the Stefan Stearns police interview. It was a 2-hour interview he did after he's accused of murdering 13-year-old Maddie Soto. They're going to break that interview down. It's going to be fascinating. Those shows are incredible. I don't know why I was not doing those sooner, but we are doing those now, where we've got real life homicide detectives breaking down homicide interviews. And like Gene says here, please, or Jeannie, hit the like on your way out. Guests, stick around 1 second. Love you, America. Love you, Utah, Arizona. Justice for this man right here. If I can, There we go. Charles Vallow. We'll see you. Guests, stick around 1 second.